learning targets for today. Learning target 4, I can explain the difference between the following economic systems. We're going to be looking at capitalism, communism, socialism, and mixed economies today. And given a sample economy, can you determine which of those economies it is? So not only defining them, but being able to recognize them when you see them.
I want it all. I want it all. I want it all. And I want it now.
Property and private means of distribution. So you as an individual determine your wealth. And the goal of capitalism is to maximize the profits for the owner. You get to this through that private control and distribution. This is where the idea of laissez-faire from world history, the idea of hands-off, or government should have little to no part in the economy. Capitalism is going to use the law of supply and demand. The higher the demand and the lower the supply, prices go up. So this is the idea of gas. There's a gasoline shortage, cost of gas goes up. The opposite of supply and demand is that when you have too much supply and not enough people are demanding it, prices go down. So this was the thing in the Great Depression about, remember American history, about farmers kept planting more and more food to make more money, but because the market had so much food in it, the cost of that food went down. So you have the role of the consumer and playing basically the driving the market and competition. Price is driven by competition. During the Industrial Revolution, you had a lot of issues, if you remember from world history last year, working conditions, the idea of supply and demand, meaning it was in favor of the factory owner, not the factory worker. So most people were not benefiting from that system. So this guy Karl Marx comes along, and his response is to give two new economies a suggestion in his book, The Communist Manifesto, Socialism and Communism.
Imagine all the people living for today.
What socialism is the idea that the majority of industries and resources are owned by the government, but not all. The idea is to make sure that basic needs of the individual, of all those citizens, are going to be met. So in socialism, the government is going to be the one that maintains the industries, the resources, and how people get distribution of goods. There's still some private ownership, some small business, but you have the creation of what's called a welfare state. And in a welfare state, housing, schooling, healthcare, retirement pensions, unemployment benefits, maternity leave, all these things that guarantee you certain basic rights for everybody. This is socialism. But in order to get that, somebody has to pay for it. It's paid for through taxes. Communism is a little bit different. Communism is when the government controls everything, absolutely everything. There is a classless society. There's no this have and have not. The government controls everything and gives everybody the exact same amount. The idea is that everybody's goals get met. And instead of competition, there's this cooperation. Again, governments control everything. So production, distribution, resources, land, consumption. There's no private ownership. There's no private distribution. There's none of this whole supply and demand thing. The idea is the government has supply and they decide the demand. In a mixed economy, you have all kinds of different pieces of it. There's private ownership, there's some government involvement, and there's a lot of cultural or traditional input here. Most economies today you see are going to be mixed, and our own is a mixed economy. And that's actually your homework for tonight, is to come in. Tomorrow morning when you guys meet in class, what we're going to be discussing is what part of your own life do you see the government controlling? What parts of your own life do you and your family get to control? And what parts of your life are controlled by tradition or by the culture that your family has?